What I've been doing is looking at how can I sort of line up all these different areas of learning and make connections between them all. My literacy learning, the math learning, those subject area outcomes, and how can I connect them, make it meaningful across all those strands, and do it in a way that the work we're doing with math and literacy in our workshops, that we can then, when we're doing our more integrated piece, for the way that I do it is a learning zone approach. So when we're doing that in that chunk of the day, that we can see how our learning in our workshops transfers into our other piece, our integrated piece that we're doing. I still have my workshops, my reader's workshop, my writer's workshop. I also do a math workshop approach where the 3-part lesson is part of that, and math stations, and it's explicit math instruction. So I still have those workshops where I'm really focused on those reading and writing and math concepts and skills. But I also have the balanced literacy pieces. So I've got shared reading, I've got read aloud, I have the word work piece, I've got things like my morning message, I've got interactive writing, and I do a lot of those pieces in sort of a morning meeting context. In the afternoon is when I do the learning zone piece. All the experiences I'm setting up are all related to those curriculum area concepts that we want the kids to be exploring, but they're using their reading and their writing and their math skills to explore those concepts. Like the way that it's been streamlined, because I totally can see how one grade is building on the other and how some of the outcomes are connected. The majority are very connected, and there are certain concepts that, so for example, science, for example. In grade 1, we're focusing right now at the Science Center. I have a lot of jobs around materials, sorting materials, looking at different objects, guessing games around, using descriptive words, because that's the outcomes that when I assess, I'm zeroing in on those kinds of outcomes for my grade 1s. Now the grade 2s, what I've decided is I felt that those kinds of grade 1 outcomes around materials and objects, I feel like liquids and solids really merge as well with that, because you're also doing a lot of observing and investigating, and it's looking at different materials and putting solid things into liquid things. So the two, to me, go really well together. And so for the kids, they don't know if they're, oh, I'm in grade 2, so I can't do any of the materials jobs, or I'm in grade 1, I can't do any liquids job. That's not at all their experience. Everybody's doing all the different experiments, and it's me as the teacher. I just look with a different lens depending on who I'm conferencing with, or who I'm doing a small group with, or whatever. So for me, I just looked through the outcomes and I just drew patterns, and I figured out what I felt went well together, what I felt merged well together, when and where, and then decided what the best kinds of jobs, like for this chunk of time in the fall, what are the best jobs I can put at the Science Center, at the Art Center? What kinds of experiences can we have as a whole group that are going to touch on both these outcomes, both these sets of outcomes? As I've grown and as I've developed professionally, something that I have just come to realize is so key is children having choice in their learning. Because what is it that I really want them to develop inside? It's that intrinsic motivation and drive to learn. Because if they have that, then all of the other pieces are going to be able to come into place over time, because that ability inside of them to want to learn, to know how to approach learning in different ways, to be motivated, to have ideas, all of those kinds of things, those are so key. So that's why, for me, this way of teaching and setting up the learning environment, that's where it comes from, because I want to set up as many opportunities for them to really take ownership of their learning and their interests and what they're doing, how they're growing.